So Des Kiffin, regular contributor to the show, back on again. It's usually we talk about football, which we will get to in a bit, no doubt about that. But when you're not talking about West Midlands football, you up until March of this year,
Yeah.
you were pretty big in the hospitality industry.
Yes, yeah. 10 years in 10 years working for hotels. 2 years ago, I decided to take the plunge and do the circuit as they know it in hospitality. So over the last couple of years or so, I've been lucky enough to work at some of the great venues. Cheltenham, Wimbledon, Royal Ascot, uh, Grand National, Aintree, Aston Villa, Leicester City, Northampton Saints, all different various stadiums and so forth.
Yeah.
And was looking forward to doing it this year, but came to an abrupt end after Cheltenham.
Indeed, the reason we're talking is that a report was published this week from Solihull Council, the hospitality sector and the retail sector, very concerned about what could be the case for a lot of workers in those sectors once furlough ends in October of this year. And we'll get onto that in a bit, but your own story, I mean, were you freelance yourself?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Freelancing in such I was 0 hour contract. I was with two companies. There's two ways you can do. You can either sort of like jump onto some of these big hospitality companies and sign up there, or go self-employed. But with all the PAYE and that paraphernalia, I decided to jump onto a company rather and let them sort that out. But freelancing in terms of 0 hour contract.
So there was
So
no
if I didn't work, I didn't get paid basically.
so there was no
But
possibility of any kind of furlough for yourself then.
I did get some furlough because I'd done so much work for the company I worked for. Wasn't much, and it wasn't something I was going to rely on. So when it happened, all kicked off after Cheltenham and the Grand National meeting, which was going to be the next one I was doing, ended. It was Plan B, and I sat at home wondering what to do, and obviously all these different reports about COVID-19 and so forth, and then I saw an article on the radio, on TV about the big winners of supermarkets because they'll be looking for a lot of staff with all this panic buying and so forth. So got on a blower straight away, and within 2 days, from interview to getting the job, I worked at my local Tesco's, and worked there, and still work there. But then a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a friend I worked with at Leicester City, the hospitality manager, and he's done the circuit many, many years, and he knows a lot of people. And he gave me a heads up about Sheffield. We're looking for people for a COVID testing site. Now, I'm going to give the government a bit of credit here because it could be just luck, or they've obviously thought about it, but the hospitality company I worked for was a big company called Compass, and it was Deloitte who were doing the COVID testing sites. There was a couple around the country. There's more building up now. But what happened with Deloitte, they couldn't run them all, and they handed over a couple of sites to Compass. And what Compass did was get managers off furlough into these sites. And that's where I am today, working in Sheffield in one of these COVID-19 sites. And there's more popping up, and more managers will be coming off furlough and doing this. And as I said, I'll give the government credit. It might have been luck. It might have been them thinking, well, let's hand over some of these contracts to some of these big hospitality companies and get some of these hospitality people back into work, even if it's something they're not accustomed to doing, but it's getting them work. And that's what I'm doing at the moment.
And you might call that luck. You might call that good fortune. But there's going to be thousands and thousands of people across the sector in Birmingham and Solihull who aren't going to be as fortunate. So, what advice could you give to anybody who is currently furloughed, who is waiting on the news in October, we're pretty certain that there will be no extension of furlough come October. So what advice could you give to anybody who is furloughed in the hospitality, retail, that kind of service sector at this time?
My best advice would be, like myself, that you've got to sort of like think outside the box and just look out there and see what there is. Working in a supermarket wasn't something I envisaged after working in hospitality for so many years. But, you know, the old adage, you have to do what you have to do to put bread on the table. You know, for 5 people who joined me and I've talked to at the test sites, there is 5 people sitting at home, i.e. maybe a chef or whatever, who thinks they're too proud to do that, and I'm not doing that. I'll wait till hospitality comes back. Hey, we're all hoping hospitality comes back, and slowly but surely it might come back, but it's not going to be big crowds to start off with. So the managers, what they needed before, it's going to be half of that, even a third of that. So you've got to think outside the box. I know a lot of people who have gone into whether it's supermarkets, whether it's factories, or whether it's whatever, who, as I say, they're chefs, they were high up in hospitality or whatever, but they're knuckling down, putting up their sleeves and thinking, right, I've just got to work where I've got to work. And it was the same as me. I had no qualms of going in every day to Tesco's. This has given me a bit of a lifeline in terms of the pay is a little bit better at this COVID test site, but I've still kept my job at Tesco's because I don't know when it's going to end. So I've cut down my hours at Tesco, but I'm still there. And it's that, Ben. It's basically, you've got to do what you've got to do. There's no this, I'm too proud to do that, or it's not what I wanted to do when I was whatever. You've just got to do what you've got to do. And there's a lot of people out there who, okay, it's not their first, second, or third choice, but for the time being, it's putting bread on the table and getting money into their household. And that's my advice. Not unless you're sitting on a massive pot of gold, so to speak, and think, well, I've saved loads of money, I don't need to work. There's not many people like that out there.
I don't think so either. I think you're right. And yeah,
you've got to get out there. And it is scary, Ben. Sorry, it is scary what you're saying, because, you know, the bite's going to come. You know, last got Wimbledon, golf, and they will come back, but there's a massive question mark. How will they come back? How much crowd will they have? You know,
it should have been the Open Championship this weekend, shouldn't it?
Yes.
Would you have been up there? You would have been.
Yeah, Wimbledon would have finished, and straight after that would have gone to other part of London and done the golf.
From August the 1st, we heard this week, there's a pilot scheme to start allowing horse racing fans on a limited number into Goodwood as part of Glorious Goodwood. So are you keeping your eye on things like that for potential ways back in to what you know and love? Yeah,
definitely. Haven't been fortunate enough to have done Goodwood last year. It is one on my to-do list.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place.
I heard it's one of the best race courses there is out there. But yeah, watching that with bated breath on how that happened, and it's good news in terms of at least there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but it's slow steps, should we say?
Yes, indeed, indeed, and as if this show couldn't be any more perfect, the perfect segue here from crowds being allowed back into football grounds and stadiums from October. Will those stadiums be the Premier League for Aston Villa, the Premier League for West Bromwich Albion, and will it still be the Championship for Birmingham City? Because as it stands, as we're here on a Sunday lunchtime, nothing is yet decided, although it could be argued both Villa and Blues are teetering on the brink.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I said to you before we came on out, I didn't realise until the last couple of weeks. I didn't realise how I knew Villa were in trouble, But I thought it was, I don't know why I thought it was between them and Bournemouth, but it's not. It's between them, Bournemouth and Watford, basically. And it's not going to be easy. My team, Arsenal, obviously, have just got into the FA Cup final, but it still won't be easy for Villa next week or this week or when it is. And then the last game, obviously, West Ham, sorry.
West Ham, yeah.
So, you know...
West Ham are just about safe now.
I mean, that was a massive point dropped, or 2 points dropped. Walcott.
2 point. They weren't dropped. They were thrown away. There's no. You can't sugarcoat it. That's just. Villa. It's one of the few times this season Villa were the better team on the night and had a real chance to put Everton to the sword and didn't take it. And ultimately, it's going to cost them. But while there's life, there's hope, and we'll see what happens. Birmingham City, absolutely shocking since the return.
They've dropped like a stone. I mean, before lockdown, they weren't overly comfortable. But you know, there's just defeat after defeat, and now they're staring at the barrel. And it, you probably get it yourself on sort of bant on Facebook and things like that. But Birmingham City fans, bless them, they're always looking over the fence at Villa.
Bless them.
You know, if Blues lose, as long as Villa lose, they're happy. Which I'd never understand that mentality. But now, look after your own garden.
Can I just say, for balance, Villa fans do that too. Before we start getting complaints, Villa fans do that too. Okay.
But look after your own garden, Blue Noses, because I tell you, you know, Villa might be coming down, and you might be having derbies. You might not be, because you might be in a division lower. You know, and bringing up the other team, West Brom. Boy, were they lucky today. You know, didn't see that coupon buster.
No, not just that though, but their defeat at Huddersfield the night before.
Yeah,
and Leeds are now back.
And that's not going to be easy, QPR. That is not going to be easy against QPR.
No, indeed not.
Well, no game's easy, but I mean, you know, you could have asked for an easier game, if you know what I mean. But Chris Park Rangers are a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. You know, on their day, you know, it can be quite an awesome team. So, you know, I don't think they've got anything to play for, they QPR. They've got no chance.
No, not at all, not at all. Yeah, so I think just to finish it, it'll be Villa to go down, West Brom to go up, Blues to stay up. I think is the way it's going to.
Okay. You think? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if West Brom bottled it. Well, bottled it, probably the wrong word, but West Ham. I wouldn't be surprised. West Brom. I wouldn't be surprised if West Brom lost, Brentford won.
Des Kiffin, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me again, Ben. Take care.